Hi, my name is Ming Fei, and I will be sharing results from our study on sled dog activity. Historically, sled dogs were used for transportation purposes, though nowadays most sled dogs work recreationally, such as pulling sled dog tours. Their activity is heavily dependent on handler schedule and work demands, though environmental and biological factors might also affect their activity. Past studies have shown younger dogs to be more active than older dogs, though the effects of sex and weight on activity remain unclear. A study also found that neutered males were less active than intact males. Since sled dogs spend almost all of their time outside, they're likely affected by environmental conditions. For instance, increased activity was associated with more moonlit nights in wolves, African wild dogs, and coyotes. Dog activity is also heavily influenced by human presence and behavior. For instance, companion dogs or pet dogs were more active during weekends than weekdays, likely in response to more interaction with humans during weekends. Clearly, dog activity is affected by a multitude of factors. Therefore, our research question was, what are the effects of biological, environmental, and human factors on sled dog daytime and nighttime activity? We recruited dogs from 2 locations in Canada. The first is Haliburton Forest and Wildlife Reserve, located in Haliburton, Ontario, and the second is Snowy Owl Sled Dog Tours, located in Canmore, Alberta. Feeding schedule and housing condition differed between the 2 locations. In addition, due to Ontario's COVID-19 lockdown, Haliburton had to cancel all tour bookings during the study duration, so none of the dogs worked, though some continued to train. Canmore, on the other hand, was able to continue with tours due to different provincial guidelines. We attached an accelerometer to a collar, and dogs wore these collars continuously for 30 days. We analyzed data for 52 individuals between the ages of 2 and 11 and who had complete data. To analyze the data, we first separated the 24-hour period into daytime and nighttime. And we used a linear mixed effects model to look at the effects of biological and environmental factors on sled dog activity. Later on, we also included human variables such as location, day type, and work schedule. In the daytime model, we found age, moon phase, and the interaction of sex and intact to be significant. So older dogs were less active than younger dogs, and dogs were more active during moon phases that had more light. In the nighttime model, we found temperature and again the interaction of sex and intact to be significant. Dogs were more active during colder nights. Let's take a closer look at how this interaction term is affecting activity. So during the day, we found that neutered females were significantly less active than intact females, and neutered females were also significantly less active than neutered males. During the night, the only significant difference was within females, with neutered females being less active than intact females. Let's also take a closer look at how moon phase is affecting daytime activity, since we expected moon phase to affect nighttime activity rather than daytime. Here, we use functional linear modeling to see when activity differed between moon phases across a 24-hour period. The top figure just shows the smoothed activity during different moon phases. And in the bottom figure, when the red line is above the dotted blue line, it means that activity significantly differed between moon phases at that time point. So we see that this difference was most pronounced from 6 a.m. to around 8 a.m. and between 7 p.m. and 9 p.m. And these periods fall into our daytime category, which explains why moon phase was only significant in our daytime model and not our nighttime model. In other words, dogs were more active during dawn and dusk when there was more moonlight. However, they weren't necessarily waking up during the night. Moving on to human influences. So for these results, we still controlled for biological and environmental covariates. First, we found that day type had a significant effect on daytime activity, but not nighttime activity. Dogs were more active during the day on weekends compared to weekdays. Next, we found that activity differed across the two locations. So Halliburton dogs who did not work during our study duration were significantly less active than Canmore dogs, both during the day and night. And this difference in nighttime activity is likely due to housing condition, since Canmore dogs slept in this open enclosure where they were more exposed to the activity and behavior of neighboring dogs. When only looking at Canmore dogs, we found that work schedule had a significant effect on daytime activity, but not nighttime activity. As expected, dogs were more active on work days than off days. Interestingly, work intensity during the day did not affect activity during the night. Taken together, our findings showed that sled dog activity was influenced by biological, environmental, and human factors. However, environmental variables had the smallest relative effect on activity, despite the fact that sled dogs spent all of their time outdoors. Human-driven influences not only changed the intensity of sled dog activity, it also changed the pattern of activity. Here, we see that when dogs were working, they have this single peak during the day, between 9 to 5, because this is when tours were booked. In contrast, when dogs were not working, they exhibit an almost bimodal activity pattern, which has been found in companion dogs. Clearly, much remains to be uncovered with regards to dog activity, and sled dogs are an excellent model for examining the interplay between various intrinsic and extrinsic factors. Future studies should look at the long-term effects of neutering on dog activity, especially in females. The effect of moonlight on dog activity should also be investigated further. Dogs may have been more active during dawn and dusk on more moonlit nights in response to nearby wildlife activity, or perhaps dogs have retained the ancestral crepuscular activity pattern found in wolves. Finally, we want to thank all the staff at Halliburton and Snowy Owl. We also want to thank our supportive and awesome lab members, and of course, we want to thank the amazing dogs who participated in this study.